Yeah, good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining Somerset West and Taunton Council's webinar today. This will be the first of many for 2021. You have joined the webinar that will provide you with an update on Taunton Garden Town and the Future High Street Fund. It is great to see so many joining the webinar today, and there's absolutely zero pressure on me to make sure this runs absolutely smoothly today. So just before we proceed with some of the presentations this evening, if you could keep your microphones muted for the duration of the presentation in order to avoid any breaks in sound from the presenters this evening. I know it can be really tempting to kind of throw out a question, but please feel free to use the chat function to submit your questions. We may not get around to answering all the questions this evening today, but we will aim to answer as many as we can within the time available. The session will be recorded this evening. This allows us to share our content to those that have been unable to attend this evening's webinar. So first up, may I introduce the leader of Somerset West and Taunton Council, Federica Smith-Roberts.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for attending our webinar today. We hope that you will find it interesting, and we're here today to show you about the Future High Street Fund, where we have been granted funds from central government in order to look to improve the high street and surrounding area in the centre of Taunton, and also to show you our really exciting video in relation to Taunton Garden Town. We hope that the Garden Town 2040 is going to act as a catalyst for the regeneration of Taunton, that it will unlock both public and private investment. It hopes to see, you will see a transformed town centre, as well as an interconnected network of green spaces and livable, walkable neighbourhoods, which encourage walking and cycling. We'll reimagine our town centre, providing a more diversified offer with a retail based around experiences and encouraging town centre living, and a new leisure and culture offer. Our plan is ambitious and exciting, but it's also achievable. We believe that Taunton is ideally placed to become the best place to live, work and grow in the UK, and I say that as someone who is born and bred in Taunton. We all appreciate that 2020 has been a challenging year for everyone. It's been challenging for us as a council, and we're aware that it has been very challenging for you as businesses, and we hope that tonight's webinar shows that we haven't stood still. We've continued to support people through the pandemic, but we've also looked to the future. We've looked to see what grants that we can get through government support, and you'll hear from Rebecca Power, our MP, as to how she's looked to enable that. But also we have looked to take the Garden Town vision so that we pivot almost. We take what the pandemic has taught us and look to the future and what we can see for our area over the next 20 years. So thank you ever so much, and I won't be here for any questions, but always open to emails, so take care.
Thank you, Federica. We do have a pre-recorded video that's been submitted by MP for Taunton Deane, Rebecca Powell. So I'm just going to share my screen very shortly. Hopefully the sound will follow through. Here we go.
And especially so for anyone running their own business. But we know the pandemic will be beaten. The vaccine rollout is progressing well, especially here in Somerset. And the UK is leading the way. Our furlough scheme and business grants have protected jobs and livelihoods, and we can begin to look forward to helping our economy bounce back. Our high streets will be key to that recovery, and I'm delighted that I was able to help secure £14 million for Taunton from the government's Future High Streets Fund. This will help us plan for post-pandemic life. It will go towards regeneration projects that will help us level up our economy and create jobs, not just here but right across the county. The role of the high street is evolving. We want to support that our high streets can change and make sure that they stay as the beating heart of our local community, with high quality housing and leisure, in addition to shops and restaurants and, of course, vital green spaces. The Future High Streets Fund will enable the delivery of ambitious regeneration plans drawn up locally and fund new local projects such as improvements to transport, infrastructure, new homes and the transformation of underused spaces. The Taunton Garden Town project, which I and others have worked hard on, and its vision for how our county town may look in 2040 is ambitious and exciting and will be very much part of all this.
Thank you very much. Next to speak this evening is a presentation from Kate Murdoch, who is a strategy specialist. I just need to unmute you, Kate. So there we go.
Thanks, Craig. Hi, I'm Kate Murdoch. I work at Somerset West and Taunton in the planning policy team, and I'm here to explain the sort of context of the Future High Street Fund, about the money that's been awarded and the projects that that money has been identified for. So you'll be aware that the government announced the Future High Street Fund back in December 2018, and local authorities were invited to submit an expression of interest. The key priorities identified in the government's Future High Street Fund is the 5 categories before you now: investment in physical infrastructure, acquisition and assembly of land to support housing, working spaces and public realm improvements, improvements to transport access, and supporting the change of use, including housing delivery, and the adaptation of the high street in response to changing technology. The guidance was very clear that it needed to be transformational projects and that no more than 5% could be on beautification. And so beautification is the sort of appearance of the high street. It's the definition provided by MHCRG relates to sort of benches, potentially green spaces in the town centre, the shop frontages, and cycle parking. The guidance outlined that there'd be a maximum of 25 million with an average investment of 5 to 10 million per town. So actually Taunton's done really well to get just short of 14 million in the provisional allocation. Will, can you move on to the next slide, please? Thank you. So I just wanted to explain in terms of the gateway criteria against what our bid was measured against, because it's a competitive bidding process, and you'll be aware that there are 101 other local authorities bidding into the Future High Street Fund. So it was a very competitive bidding process. So with any bid that went in, we had to demonstrate clear market failure, and that delivers investment and much wider benefits across the town as a result of the projects put in, that those projects could meet the timescales of the Future High Street Fund, so they had to be completed, or the spend of the Future High Street Fund allocation has to be completed by March 2024. The projects and the delivery of those projects can go beyond March 2024. And that there was co-funding committed, so it couldn't rely entirely on the Future High Street Fund to deliver the projects identified. You move on to the next slide, please, Will. Thanks. So the assessment criteria against which all local authority bids were were assessed. The key one was demonstrating value for money. So 50% of the assessment was focusing on the need to demonstrate value for money. And so the stage one was a basic pass and fail. So all 101 bids would need to demonstrate that they met a BCR, which stands for benefit cost ratio of 2 to 1. And what that means is that for every £1 of public money that's going in, there are £2 worth of economic benefit, and that can be monetised and non-monetised benefits. And then in that sort of stage 2 is that the business case demonstrates that it's got strong value for money, and it was effectively a ranking process. So those that came above that threshold then went through to the next assessment stage. Can you go on to the next slide, please, Will? Thank you. So yeah, the other element of assessing the bids was the strategic fit. So to what extent local authority bids met the objectives of the Future High Street Fund, i.e. they had to deliver transformative change and the potential to unlock further investment and growth within the town centre. They needed local support for the proposal, and there needed to be a clear demonstration of need for the investment. And that was 20% of the assessment criteria. Can you go on to the next slide, please, Will? And so the final assessment criteria is deliverability, and this was 30% of the overall assessment. And the key elements of this is that it demonstrated a good commercial case, that there were robust whole life costings involved with the financial case, and that it stacked up. And of course the management case, which is key to deliverability, that the local authority had the project team and capacity to deliver the projects that it identified. Can you go on to the next slide, please, Will? So this map just outlines the projects that went into the bid. So you've got the fire pool scheme that everyone's aware of, the brownfield site between the station and linking into the town centre. The coal orchard project also featured in the Future High Street Fund, and pedestrian and cycle improvement link from the station linking through Firepool, along by the river, through Coal Orchard, into the town centre, along High Street, linking up to Vivery Park, along with proposed improvements in cycle and pedestrian improvements was cycle parking facilities and the enhancement of cycle parking facilities. So the overall bid went in for an ask of 20.2 million to do all of that. So what we've been awarded, sorry, can you go on to the next slide, please, Will? Thank you. So the final business case went in April 2020. Coal Orchard was put in as a shovel-ready project under the guidance of MHCLG, and the final business case submitted incorporated Coal Orchard, Firepool with infrastructure and enabling works, recognising the need to get that site moving forward, the incorporation of the proposed performance venue as part of the Firepool master plan, and the cycle and pedestrian improvements as explained on the map. So linking from the station to Vivery Park and incorporating the cycle parking improvements. Can you move to the next slide, please, Will? So, yep, so the overall ask we put in originally was 20.2 million. We've been awarded a provisional offer, 69% of that. So of the 101 local authority areas that put in a bid, there were 57 provisional offers for local authorities where they were awarded 69% of their original ask, and 15 areas were awarded funding in full. So there were you know, we were very lucky to be in that 57 provisional We now have to review the options, recognising the reduced funding and deliverability, and we need to rerun the benefit cost ratio calculations to demonstrate that the reviewed options and the revised options still represent good value for money. We need to get the final clarification process completed. The final deadline is the 26th of February, but MHCLG are encouraging local authorities to complete that earlier if possible, which we're keen to do. We're keen to try and get that done by the end of January, so that we can ensure that that funding is awarded as early as possible. Move to the next slide, please, Will. That's essentially the end of my presentation, and I'm open to questions.
Thank you very much. If I could just open up the microphone to Lisa and find out if there are any questions that have come through the chat.
Hopefully I'm muted. Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Lisa Redston. I'm the Economic Development Manager at Somerset West and Taunton Council. So we have had a couple of questions that have come in, and two of those are quite similar. So I'm going to ask those two questions together and ask somebody from the team to come in to answer them. So the first question was, what proportion of the funding to make improvements in Taunton will be used to benefit Taunton's residents as opposed to the normal facelift for visitors in the town centre? So I'll ask that question of the team first.
Thanks, Lisa. Well, essentially all of the high street funding that's been awarded to Taunton, assuming that we meet all the criteria that we now need to through the clarification process, will be for the benefit of Taunton residents. Very little of it can be used for the sort of beautification, i.e. the improvement of sort of shop frontages and things like that. The MHCLG guidance is very clear on that.
Thank you, Kate. And so another question we've had in tonight is, you're encouraging walking and cycling, as you have with East Street, which excludes many with mobility issues who use walking sticks. How are you going to be inclusive of older and disabled people who need, and the Equality Act 2010 say they should expect, who need accessible parking nearby? So a question around ensuring that what we're doing is inclusive and takes into account the needs of people with additional mobility needs, and around parking. So can a member of the team pick that one up?
Yeah, no, I can pick that up. I mean, any proposals that the council moves forward with would need to meet the requirements of the Equality Act. So all proposals would need to be considered and take that into consideration. In terms of accessible parking, I couldn't say what the proposals are for that. That might be a question, Lisa, unless there's somebody else in the team that can answer that we may need to take away and respond to afterwards. Exactly where that any additional accessible parking would be, okay, other than what we already provide within the town.
Kate, that's fine. Thank you for that. Thank you for that answer. And what we will do is we'll consolidate these questions at the end, and any that we feel that we want to give additional information about that we haven't been able to fully answer tonight, we will send those out to participants after the meeting. So with that one, Kate, I think we can then add on to that, and then we'll send out a slightly fuller answer when we've consulted with our colleagues about the exact plans around that. So I don't know how we're doing for time, Mr. Host, but I will go for one more question if I can.
Yeah, go for it.
Lovely. Okay, so there are lots of questions coming in. There's a question here around arts and culture and creativity sector involvement in the design features around developing some of these projects, and whether there'll be an opportunity for anybody from that particular sector to be involved in the actual design, so how it looks in the town.
Well, I suppose the site will need, so Firepool master plan has been out for consultation. The projects within the Future High Street Fund bid are ones that have had extensive consultation on them. When the outline application or the proposals for that site move forward, there would need to be more engagement and consultation at that stage. I'm conscious of the fact that I probably didn't explain, because I've just noticed one of the questions is what we're looking to reduce from the funding requirement. And at the present time, the one that we're proposing to take out from the Future High Street Fund bid is the performance venue, recognising that at this present time, it's difficult to see that can be delivered in recognition of the challenges that COVID faces. That does not mean to say that the council's not still committed to delivering a performance venue for the town. It is. It just won't feature necessarily in the Future High Street Fund bid at this time, recognising that COVID and the challenges that the cultural sector is facing means that project is going to be a difficult one to deliver in the timescales, but the council is still committed to seeing that come forward for the town.
Thank you very much, Kate, for that. Craig, have we got time for any more questions?
Yeah, we have. My schedule allows for another kind of 8 minutes of questions if there's plenty coming in.
Okay, let's see if we can get to a few more there today then. So there's a particular question here around cycling routes and about whether there's a cycling route that's planned to go through the high street, which is already pedestrianised, and if so, how is that route going to be managed to ensure that pedestrians stay safe? So Kate, I don't know if you can pick that one up.
Yeah, and this kind of goes back to the sort of wider consultation that we'll need to do on some of these routes as they get developed. So the proposal that went in was a sort of high-level proposal. We will need to do further engagement with the local community and consultation on the proposals that move forward. It's unfortunately we're hoping to do that before the lockdown, and that hasn't happened. So we do recognise that further work will need to be done on that.
Brilliant, thank you, Kate. There is a question here around unique selling points, but I think we'll come back to that one if that's okay when we get to the Garden Town questions and answers a little later. So I think that's probably covered some of the questions which have come in this evening. So I'm happy to move on, and like I said, we will make sure that we consolidate these questions and get some answers out to you if we haven't gotten around to your question this evening.
Lovely, thanks very much, Lisa. Next to present today is Natalie Kirbisher. She's a project manager looking after Taunton Garden Town.
Hello everyone, thank you for coming this evening. Today we've launched the Taunton Garden Town 2040 campaign. On the basis that a picture speaks 1,000 words, we've created a visual articulation of the Garden Town vision. The video has an inward investment focus and will be used to support funding applications, including the Future High Street Fund, and ideally start meaningful conversations with potential investors. There's no basis in planning. It's a vision of what the town could be like. Each project featured, if it came forward, would go through the full project life cycle and include a formal consultation. So we're just really excited that we're demonstrating this ambition for long-term objectives, and hopefully we will reach some of the people that could help us achieve this. If somebody could press play, that would be great. thank you for watching that with us. I hope the video played reasonably well over Zoom. If you would like to watch it again or leave a comment or ask a question, if you search Taunton Garden Town 2040 on the website, there's some links there to leave some feedback. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much, Natalie. Can I go back to Lisa and ask if there are any questions that have come about in the chat, please? I've got a feeling I might have to unmute her. Yes, I do. Okay. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you. I'll give you a little wave. So just looking at some of the questions, I did mention earlier on that there was a question which I'm now scrolling up to try to find, from Dilly Bradley. Where is the unique selling point that will make Taunton different from all the other towns trying to reinvent themselves? Natalie, I mean, we've just seen that really quite exciting video of the future of Taunton and what it could look like. Has any further work or thought been given on the unique selling point and the marketing aspects of Taunton?
We are actually just going through a process at the moment, which includes some stakeholder engagement in and around the town about the marketing and key selling points for Taunton. So while I don't have an answer right now, there is activity going on to answer that question, and we hope to be able to share that with you very soon.
Great stuff, thanks Natalie. So a question here, which I think we probably all recognise. So the pandemic has changed shopping habits and seen many shops close down. If this continues, what's the backup plan for the town centre and the shops within it?
Tim, do you want to take that one? Someone would need to unmute him.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm on it. There we go, Tim. You should be okay.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. It's an exciting video. I think, if I may just try to answer the USP question as well. First, I think Taunton's got some fantastic natural assets, and much of it is around the river. So I think what's key to the spine, not only the garden town and the green nature of Taunton, is that we've got a fantastic river. It's sort of Taunton's unsung hero. And I think the connection with a mainline train station, a major cricket ground, a fantastic natural environment, and a really strong river frontage. I mean, the more we can make the river, the town relate to the river, the more we can bring a leisure focus into the town, then I think Taunton will be a much better place to rebuild post-COVID. And it's not that shopping is going to stop, it's going to change. And we know that this COVID impact, and lockdown in particular, has acted as a catalyst to the change that was already happening in High Street. So a move towards a more leisure-focused destination, more residential units, because not many residential units have been delivered in the town, so to create a more captive audience to the town centre. There's a whole sort of basket of ingredients that I think will help us through. And sorry, if the second question has now escaped me. Could you remind me what the second question was, please?
I can, as I scrolled away from it as well, Tim, so bear with me a second. Oh, this was about the pandemic changing shopping habits, and about what are the plans for the town centre now retail is finding itself in a challenging situation.
I think I've kind of answered that before, but in the same question. So again, it's about just trying to get that strong mix of leisure, trying to embrace our what's strong about the town. And this is a long-term vision. I think, as Natalie has set out, this is by no means a blueprint or set in stone by any means. This is just an aspiration as to how some of the key sites in the town, many of which are known, many of which of these sites actually are already in the area action plan or in the former local plan. And what's happened over the last 12, 14 years is not the right things have necessarily happened in the right place. So the intention of the video is that it sets out a vision for how the right things can hopefully happen in the right place. And it gives us the £13.9 million that we've received from the High Street Fund is just the first stage of what we hope will be a lot more cash and investment from government into the town. And the fact that we've got this video, and hopefully that we all like it, gives us a really strong or weapon in our armoury so when those funds come available, and they'll always be competitive, we've got something really strong to share, which puts us ahead of many other areas to help us get that funding.
Lovely, thanks Tim, thanks Natalie. A comment here, maybe a question, but I think a comment. So from Trish, so love the look of Castle Green, the glass atrium around the side of the current Mecca building. What are the plans for when Mecca move out? That building would be an amazing entertainment venue for music and comedy while we await the new one at Firepool. I don't know if anybody around the table today is able to answer that particular question around the Mecca Hall. I'm going to take silence as that we will come back to you on that particular question. See what else I can pick out here for you. So do the plans for town centre living and development of brown sites mean that no further out of town developments will be needed? Again, I might come to Tim on this one, if I can, Tim. Oh, we might need to unmute Tim again.
Yeah, we do. That's all right. No problem. There we go.
Thank you. So in relation to, I don't think this will be the end of the out of town residential. It'd be lovely to think we could deal with it all in the town centre, but I think the expectation from government on the delivery of housing units means that there will still continue to be edge of town development, and that's where the Garden Town bit is key, is that we're trying to stitch those areas back in and make them join into the town. Nick may well also have much better things to say than me on that.
Thank you. So yes, no, I'd just echo really and build a little bit on what Tim said. No, it doesn't mean that greenfield sites will be a thing of the past necessarily. But what it does mean is that the council wishes to focus on town centres, on previously developed land, which has got the benefits of better access to services and facilities in town centres, and obviously. I think everybody can sort of see the benefit in doing that. And of course, we've seen an awful lot of large-scale greenfield development in and around the town that's been talked about for a very long time, and many of those sites are just starting to come forward for development. And we hope that the regenerated town centre can really complement that vision.
Okay, thanks very much. Thanks. I'm just looking through to see if there are any other questions that I could pick up to date. Lots of very positive comments, which is fantastic about the video. So thank you for that. I'm just scrolling through to see, there's lots of wonderful comments and loads of comments we can take back. But let me see. Can Taunton be seen as a visitor hub for access to fab surrounding countryside, especially for walking and cycling? So in terms of the vision for the town centre. So pick that up.
Part of the Garden Town vision is absolutely the fact that you can go from the town centre out into the countryside in about 15-20 minutes. I mean, one route in particular is straight from Firepool all the way out to Monkton Heathfield beyond, and all the way to Bridgewater if you really wanted to go that far. So it's just one of the key selling features. From nearly everywhere you stand in the town centre, you can actually visually see right out to the countryside, unless you're right in the middle where the shops block it. So it's a really, really key thing for us that the town to countryside is a big part of the Garden Town themes and vision.
Thank you, Natalie. Councillor Cravis, I didn't know, did you want to come in on one of the questions that we've covered previously? Just give me a nod or a... Yes, please, brilliant. Craig, if you could unmute Councillor Cravis, please.
Oh, I think I'm unmuted. Yeah, thank you. I mean, it was a couple of things actually. I think we touched on the unique selling point one. I think what I would say, and I think this is thought of by all the councillors, is one of the things I'm very impressed. Well, I think one of Taunton's strengths is its location. You look at where it's located. It's not quite in the hub and bub of Bristol. It's not as far down as Exeter. It's surrounded by, you know, it's surrounded. Well, just look what it's surrounded by. I'm sat in beautiful West Somerset. You've got Exmoor on one side. It's the wonderful location. Just to touch on the question, I think was about the Mecca. Couldn't let that go unanswered. I thought that was slightly unfair. But yeah, we might own the building, but we have a tenant. We have a very good tenant. We have a very good tenant that's paying rent, and that's all we can really say on that one at the moment. I'm afraid I know you'd like me to say something else, but at this moment in time, I can't. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcus. We've had a question in about, I wish I would stop scrolling. We have had a question in around broadband, which I'm trying to find at the moment, but I do want to address it because I know that the person who's answered the question has asked the question twice. So bear with me while I scroll back up to broadband question, which seems to be further up than I thought. If anyone else can see it, because I clearly can't see it, please.
Sorry, Lisa, I think it's what is the
jump
plan
in.
for fast broadband in the
It
town?
was that simple. Thank you, Kate. Brilliant. That's brilliant stuff. So what is the plan for fast broadband?
I don't know the answer to that.
No, we don't know the answer.
I can, well, no, I mean,
I was going to say Nick.
I was going to say I can give a bit of an answer, but it will not be a terribly detailed one. And I think that's to say that the council absolutely recognises the importance of high-speed broadband connectivity. And if anything, obviously, the experiences that many of us will have had home working through the pandemic reinforces the importance of a stable and high-speed internet connection. And that's what you'd expect to see in any 21st century community. So what we will be looking to do is investigating through planning policy how we can kind of take forward that particular agenda. And indeed, we know not just within Taunton Town Centre, but actually across the district, we will look to do what we can through planning obligations, through development requirements, to make sure that we deliver those improvements. We've also got, as some of you will be aware, we're part of the Connecting Devon and Somerset broadband rollout project, which is about sort of targeting and improving broadband speeds and connectivity speeds across the county. So it's very, very high up the council's agenda, and we will explore multiple avenues to sort of make sure that we deliver those higher speeds across the district.
Great stuff. Thank you, Nick. Craig, have I got time for one more?
Yeah, we have. I know I've heard Rebecca Powell would like to say a few words, if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely love to. Can you hear me, folks? Wave. I can't see you. I can just see a picture of the centre of Taunton, which is very lovely. I just want to congratulate everybody, actually. What a really good idea to hold this webinar. Really good to do that and to keep everyone informed. And I must thank Federica, because we had a very constructive meeting the other day about the High Streets Fund and about the Garden Town. And I was so pleased to help attract that money from government, the 14 million. So I've got a few questions I want to throw in, and then I just want to give you a little update, because I met with the Secretary of State today from Communities and Local Government, and I was able to tell him about this meeting tonight, which he's very pleased to hear about. So if anyone can just let us know about the, for every £1, we're going to get £2 of public benefit. Just a bit of expansion on how that's going to happen, what the benefit is, do you think? And also how you're going to draw in private funding, because that was one of the big parts of the bid, wasn't it, to attract other funding. Just like to know that. And then to say that I'm really, really pleased that you're mentioning the Garden Town again, because it seemed to have gone a bit quiet. And so it's great that because so many people worked on that design code, on how they want Taunton to look and feel. And although only 5% of the money from the High Street Fund can go for what I call add-ons and beautification, it is one of the main strands now that government's pushing for in our developments. I wonder if we could get money for that from the Garden Town aspect of the funding, because we've had 2 million, I think, since 2017, since I worked with all those stakeholders to attract the funding, and we got Natalie in place. Great work, Natalie, using some of that funding. So, could we leverage in that money to do all the nice things and the greening and things from that fund potentially? And I did want to say that I flagged with the Secretary of State today about the housing developments, and he was very keen that we did make sure that we used our Garden Town ethos and that design code and guide to influence our housing development. So hopefully we will be able to do that. And they're launching a street tree fund next week, I think, government, so that every town and city can have trees in their streets. That might be another opportunity for us. And there will certainly be, I think, another opportunity to get some more funding through the next fund, which will be called the Levelling Up Fund. And I'm very happy to work with you on that. I also throw in, you probably might have heard that Worcester's been announced as the new centre for something called the Office for Environmental Protection. So government is looking at placing big organisations and regulators and things out of the big cities, and we must have a big opportunity in Taunton to try and attract one of those. So if we could think about that, I'd be pleased to help. And yeah, I think we've all got to get behind this. So good work, and I will work with you as your conduit to government, because they do want you to have very close link-ups with the MPs. So those are my comments, really, Craig.
Thanks very much. Would anybody like to respond to any of those comments?
Yeah, I'm happy to pick up some of those, Craig. So the benefit cost ratio calculation is set out, very clear guidance through the Treasury's Green Book appraisal process. And essentially what it's trying to, it helps, I suppose, with ranking bids to demonstrate which ones represent best value for money in terms of attracting public money. And it helps through that assessment process for government when you know there's a pot of money and there's several bids that are bidding into that. But
yeah, but I was just wondering, Kate, what, you know, can you just name 3 things? You know, so it's walkways, cycleways, trees. You know, how would you? I know all that about the Green Book.
Yeah.
Which is obviously key to how they divvy up the money. Just thinking from Taunton's point of view. What would you say, you know, what is that benefit we're getting, that doubling of the money?
Yep, so the main one is the sort of land value uplift, especially in recognising the regeneration of Firepool, which is a huge brownfield site in the town centre. I think we'd all agree, pretty much an eyesore and a key location between the station and the town centre. With the proposals for residential units. So the view is that the land value uplift that comes with seeing that site come forward. There are also sort of the wider investment benefits that arise from that, and the flood improvements that are proposed to go in as part of that scheme. So there are a number of properties that get lifted out of the flood risk that the Environment Agency. So it's all of those that factor into that BCR calculation, along with local authorities are able to capture estimated health benefits that arise from improving cycling facilities, making them safer, but also enabling people to walk and cycle more frequently, really, so you can capture the health benefits that arise from that investment. So I would say they were the key ones that went into our BCR calculation.
Great, okay, that's great, thank you very much, Kate. Can I just, while I've got a chance, flag to Federica, if she's still on the call. I mentioned about the Future Homes bonus, Federica, and I'll talk to you about that again later. And phosphates, Kate, I flagged that with the Secretary of State as well, okay? And I'm having a meeting with Minister Pincher this week, the Housing Minister, about, it is moving, it's edging on, isn't it? So just to flag that while you're on the call, but it's a big issue, but hopefully we are making progress.
Great, thanks, Rebecca.
So I don't know, Lisa, if I can say a little bit just on the design sort of point specifically. So yes, absolutely. We need to make sure that the Garden Town is an exemplar for high quality, sustainable design. I think one of the big challenges that we have to reconcile in Taunton is that some of those sites that are now coming to fruition through the planning process are the product of many years' work that predates Garden Town status. So that's the sort of challenge for us, really, in terms of doing our best to sort of improve the sort of standard of design in these new housing schemes, whilst recognising that legally speaking, in many instances those sites have planning. But I think hopefully you can see through the vision sort of fly through here that the council takes that very seriously, that importance of good design, putting sustainable neighbourhoods at the heart, creating that network of green infrastructure and so forth. And that design guide work that we've been developing is kind of key to that. And just to the point about using Garden Town's monies to put into sort of beautification, yes, it is an option that's kind of open to us. And I think that the challenge for us really is making sure that we put that money where we can ensure it is most impactful, where it can deliver the greatest benefit in terms of delivering outcomes. So that would be my response to that. But absolutely, it's something that we're open to, and we want to continue to champion good design.
Great, thank you very much for that.
Thanks, Nick. Thanks, everyone, for your participation in that. I will hand back over to Craig now for the final item.
Yeah, thanks very much, Lisa. That was the questions. So I just wanted to take an opportunity to introduce myself. I've recently been appointed as Taunton's new town centre manager, and I'm really excited to be taking up that role. Just a little bit about me. So I joined the economic development team back in 2016. Just a couple of the highlights I want to mention was I was heavily involved in the Cricket World Cup activity. A lot of the activity that happened outside of the ground, I was facilitating and supporting, and that included the town dressing, the mural that's still up on the Viridor building on the Firepool site, including the TV advert that was seen globally by about 2 billion people, just kind of putting Taunton on the map. In the latter part of 2019 as well, one of my great achievements was getting the ice rink into Taunton Town Centre and really creating that festive regional destination. So before I go into more detail about my current role, I just wanted us to reflect on the last 12 months, just very, very quickly. I know it wasn't a particularly good time. So what you see before you is some statistics about Taunton Town Centre, the impressions on the footfall. So the blue line indicates 2019, the green line indicates 2020. I've highlighted where the lockdown points are and have been throughout the year. So the difference in the footfall between 2019 and 2020 is around about 35%. That percentage equates to around 6 million people less coming into our town centres. Now that obviously reflects on the spend locally and the economic impact. Now, it's through our relationships with the businesses and the intelligence that we get through our systems that really allows us to understand what's happening locally and therefore identify the right kind of package and support needed. We know that town centres nationally and right across our district have been hit really hard, and we've all had to adapt really quickly in order to survive the restrictions. We know how bad things have been out there for our high streets, and therefore Somerset West and Taunton Council have supplied a grant to Taunton Town Centre in the form of an emergency high street fund. So what is the emergency high street fund? So the fund is £200,000 specifically allocated to Taunton Town Centre. It's to help the town centre businesses bounce back from the impact of COVID-19. So what will the money be spent on? So we want to ensure that we're getting this absolutely right. Therefore, we are working with a range of different businesses right across the town centre. We're all coming together to identify ways in which that money can be spent. And since I've been appointed, we've had our first working group meeting, and there's been a couple of themes that have come about. We have public realm improvements, we have marketing and communications, and events. So the public realm could be things like additional lighting around the town, and that would help support the day and the nighttime economies. The infrastructure improvements would actually help support events. So we could put them further out through the streets around the town centre, just extending where people's footprint carries throughout the town. It would also possibly help new startup businesses in the form of street trading and markets. The marketing and communications, part of that could be around high quality video content, really showing what a beautiful town we have. And the bespoke, unique shops are our key attractions, and Vivery Park and the Museum of Somerset completely complement all of that. We want to support events in the future when they are allowed to happen, ensuring that the safety measures that they implement comply with the public health regulations, and that they are focused on the town centre, benefiting the retailers and the attractions. If you would like to have your say on how this money is spent, I have put the email address at the bottom of the screen share, opening high streets at Somerset West and Taunton.gov.uk. That is my presentation. I want to thank, we are a couple of minutes before we're due to finish, but if there are any questions there, Lisa, before I wrap up, that would be good. Are you muted? You are muted. Let me just unmute you.
I'm back. Thanks, Craig. To be honest, I think we've summarised quite a lot of the questions, and some of them are grouped together because we have some similar themes coming through, and it's interesting to see those themes coming through. So I'm happy to leave it there with the questions today. But like I said at the beginning, we will answer all of the questions and we will send that out after. Apologies if your question hasn't been raised today and I've missed it, but we will try and get those answers out to you after the session today. So I'm more than happy, Craig. We can give everybody a last 4 minutes of the evening. So I'll hand back to you to close up.
Okay. Lovely, thanks very much. Well, may I thank all the speakers, the presenters, Rebecca Powell, Federica, especially. We hope to run more of these webinars. This webinar will be on our YouTube channel, so do look out for that very, very shortly. Have a great evening, everybody, and thank you again for attending.